Good morning, I'm Frank Powers, and this is Lifestyle Tucson, the program where I speak to our neighbors, the people behind the scenes of our amazing organizations, small businesses, and nonprofits. Our friends are informing you how they serve our community, and they're here to give you updates on future projects. Let's make some new friends today. Take me out to the ball game, take me out to the crowd, because for the first time in almost 15 years, professional baseball will be played in Tucson in the spring. The World Baseball Classic is back, and the qualifiers will be hosted in Tucson at Kino Veterans Memorial Stadium on March 2nd through the 6th as teams from Brazil, China, Colombia, and Germany make their way to the old pueblo to play America's favorite pastime and possibly soon the world's favorite pastime. Let's swing for the fences because today I'm fortunate to speak with Edgar Soto, who is the Vice President of Pima Community College, Desert Vista Campus, and also the Chairman of the Board for the Southern Arizona Film and Tourism Authority. And I found out a former college baseball player himself, correct? Edgar, welcome to Lifestyle Tucson.
Thank you for having me on. This is so exciting, and I love your office, or I don't know what you call this, the
old studio.
The studio. There you go. It's so cool.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
And I'm wearing a Yankee hat. Don't hold it against me.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to talk about this. I love baseball. I think it is my favorite sport to watch because it's a fun day out. We used to play stickball in the streets just every single day, summer after summer. And that's what grown-ups kind of all about, is baseball is a big way to get into sports. And I really do love baseball. And I'm so excited to talk to you about not only baseball, but what you do on the tourism board for Tucson, because I love Tucson the most. So it's really nice to meet you.
Okay, so were you here when we had spring training at all? Because you said 15 years you've been here maybe. Were you able to go to any spring training games when you were here, or was it gone already? We had AAA ball here. We had the Sidewinders, which is a Diamondbacks AAA team, and then the Padres were here for a little bit, which is a AAA team.
Yeah, I definitely did do that back in the day with my buddy Josh. We still talk about when we used to go to the baseball games. So really fun. And I like doing that. I like seeing the Ducks when I'm on Long Island. Like I go to see the Ducks play because I like our smaller teams. And then there's Yankee Stadium, which is amazing as well. Take out a loan and go to Yankee Stadium. But going to see the same thing, you can get that same experience when you see our AAA teams. The fireworks still happen at the end. It's a fun day out. Hot dog specials, singing. It's a good time. That's what baseball's all about.
Well, here's the thing that I wish you would have experienced, because my whole life it's been here, right? I'm from Tucson, born and raised in Tucson. I mean, I left a couple times for college and then I was in the military. But the one thing that I miss is spring training here, right?
Yeah.
So just a quick short story. So one of the stories, you're talking about the Yankees. Well, you remember Reggie Jackson played for the Angels for a while, right?
Yes.
And they were playing, I think it was the Cleveland Indians were here at that time. Reggie Jackson, he was my hero because I'm a Yankees fan also. That 1978 when hit the 3 home runs, all that stuff. I mean, he's been one of my favorite players. I don't know, did you watch that special about him on Prime Video, Amazon Prime?
No, not yet. But I watch a lot of the Netflix sports documentaries. I kind of love sports documentaries.
Watch the one on Amazon Prime about Reggie Jackson, his story.
Okay.
Well, anyways, my buddy and I, Eddie Carrasco, he's one of my best friends. We thought we were going to be like the Eminem boys and Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris. It was going to be Edgar and Eddie. And Reggie Jackson was a fan, so he hits a foul ball down the right field line. My buddy Eddie jumps over the fence because we want this ball. He bobbles it because he's not a good fielder, and I grab it and I get Reggie Jackson's ball, which is so cool because I'm walking out of the stadium. We walk through the annex, and guess who we run into? Rod Carew. I don't know if you remember that name, but the lefty hitter, Minnesota Twins, California Angels. So he signed my Reggie Jackson foul ball. I still have that ball. So that's why this spring training, Major League Baseball is part of the fabric of our Tucson community here. And when it left, it left a hole in this community. You didn't get a chance to see all of it, but you saw some of it. So back in 2008, we had the Diamondbacks, the Rockies, and the White Sox were here, right? And when the White Sox decided to leave, we were negotiating with the Diamondbacks and the Rockies. Now, let me back up a little bit. I was part of a group called the Pima County Sports Tourism Authority, which we were tasked with trying to keep Major League Baseball here, bring sporting events, tourism, all kinds of different things. So we had already negotiated with the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. They were going to stay here in Tucson. So we had a bill that was moving through the state legislature, which was going to give us some sustainable funding to build a 3-team stadium in Marana, because at that same time, we were talking to the Washington Nationals, Baltimore Orioles, and Milwaukee Brewers wanted to get out of Maryville and Phoenix.
Okay.
So the plan was we were going to have a 3-team stadium in Marana and 2 teams there at the Kino Stadium, right? So think about that. We would have had 5 teams here in Tucson, right, in southern Arizona. And that I-10 corridor from Tucson to Phoenix would have been filled with business and industry, right? And so that bill's going through the legislature because it was a taxing authority that we were going to tax rental cars and hotels and I think a little bit of restaurants and it was going to give us about $25 million a year to build and bond the stadium. That was the whole thing. Well, there was a Republican senator held on to it for a couple of weeks when it was ready to pass. Held on to the last day of session. There was some controversial bill going on. Democrats walked out. Never got to a vote. So that's when Phoenix swooped in and took our 2 teams.
Wow.
But think about that. Had that not happened, we'd have 5 teams here in southern Arizona.
That's incredible. That's interesting. And again, as you talk about that, and you're on the board, and I see the film and tourism board, and it's the same way that, like, why did we lose film? How come things that are great?
I got a story about that too.
I bet.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to spill the tea, but maybe we talk off air.
I got it.
Go ahead.
So, fast forward to, I was sharing earlier when we were talking, I was the Dean of Arts and Humanities.
Yes.
For about a year and 2 months. And one of my jobs as the Arts and Humanities Dean was to go out there to industry and find out that what we're training our students in is applicable to real world jobs, right? So I was going around making sure that, film was one of the parts of it. And I reached out to a gentleman named Matthew Earl Jones, who was the director of film for Arizona at the time, appointed by Governor Ducey. And I said, Matthew, I need you to come down to Tucson. I need you to speak at a summit we're having so that we make sure that we're teaching our students the right way with our curriculum and everything. So he actually said no a couple times to me. And I said, just come down. I'm going to put you up in Star Pass, stay here for a couple days. And him and I hit it off. Okay. And we started to talk about it. And so him and I started to talk about film and all these different things because we used to have a robust film industry here, right? Yeah. Then we lost our tax credits. But old Tucson and all these places, I mean, I was like in a movie Can't Buy My Love. I was filmed in my high school. And I was in a movie called, I was in a Geronimo movie, TNT version that was over at Sabino Canyon. I was one of the dead Mexican soldiers in the water.
No kidding.
Yeah, and then I was in another movie called Touching Home, which was filmed at Pima, and it was with the Miller brothers and Ed Harris.
Okay.
And then I should have been in Major League, but I overslept that day because we were out partying the night before. This was during my college days. But my buddy Alex Flores is the guy that runs over the catcher, right?
Yeah.
So anyways, all these cool films were here in Tucson. So me and Matthew start talking. He said, Edgar, there's a 300-mile zone here in Tucson in southern Arizona where you can get all kinds of different terrain from mountains to desert to if we go into like Puerto Peñasco, Rocky Point, you can get beaches because we have a deal with them. We should really promote film in southern Arizona because there's a niche for $10 million films or less, documentaries, commercials, reality shows, and cooking shows, all this thing. So, we can maybe try to promote some of that. So I started to think back and I said, I'm going to try to get this Pima County sports and tourism thing going again because the bill was about to sunset. It was
okay.
So I started to get some people together. I tell you, nobody listened to me. I couldn't get anybody to open the door. Finally, I reached out to a gentleman named Tom Tracy, who was the chair of the old Pima County Sports and Tourism, and that kind of got people going. So we started to talk about it. I said, okay, maybe not Major League Baseball is out of the question, but what about film? Maybe we can do something and create film credits and all this and that. So him and I started talking, and we started getting this group together, and things just dominoes fell into place. I was giving a baseball lesson. I was a baseball coach at Pima for 14 years.
Okay.
The athletic director for about 10 years. And I was still doing lessons, right? And I was giving this kid a lesson, started talking to his mom, and his mom's a lobbyist for the Vail School District, Darcy Mentone. I'm like telling him what I'm doing. So we're talking dual enrollment, all kinds of educational stuff. And I said, yeah, I'm also on this, trying to get this Pima County Sports Tourism Authority going again. And she's like, well, let me help you with that. So she goes out there and she starts making connections. She was a really good friends with Senator Gowan, who was a big baseball fan. Like, I'm a Democrat, he's a Republican, but he's a Dodgers fan, right? Okay. So we connected on baseball, and I was showing him pictures with I was with Fernando Valenzuela on a picture over at Pima, and hung out with Tommy Lasorda. I also had the privilege of coaching USA Baseball in 2001, 2002. So I was a head coach in 2002 of the USA Baseball team. Been to Cuba, Sherbrooke, Quebec, Great experience in baseball. Him and I connected on baseball. And he said, Edgar, he says, I'm not a fan of Pima County. Him and Huckleberry didn't get along, the old county administrator. He said, but how about we create a Southern Arizona Sports Tourism and Film Authority? We include Pima County, Pinal, Graham, Greenlee, and Cochise County, where he's out of.
Right.
So these 6 counties, Santa Cruz also. So there's 6 of them.
Okay.
I said, well, you know what? That makes some sense because it gives us a little more authority, I guess, because we're not competing just against Maricopa, us 6 counties. So it's more of a region.
Mm-hmm.
We start talking about this. We create a bill, and it passes. Darcy Mentone, our lobbyist, just did a great job talking to legislation, and it passed. So now it's an authority, and that's why we're able to create the Southern Arizona Sports Tourism Authority. Hired Blake Eager, who is doing phenomenal. I mean, there couldn't be a better person for the position, what he's doing with his background. So fast forward, we're out there, and we're trying to get film here. We've got some film projects here. We give grants, but our goal is to bring economic impact to Southern Arizona. Mm-hmm. Good jobs with livable wages. And the reason is so people like yourself can live lives of meaning and purpose, right? That's what we're really trying to do. People want to have good experiences, good events. So I know I'm going kind of long here. But,
no, this is what it's for. I'm on the edge of my seat. Believe me, I talk too much on the show.
No, so all this stuff happens, right? And things start moving really fast, and we are this close to getting 6 spring training games here with the Diamondbacks and the Cleveland Guardians, right? So nice. I'm actually in a meeting, and I'm sitting with Ken Kendrick, the owner of the Diamondbacks, Derek Hall, the president, Luis Gonzalez, Gonzo. We're in a meeting, and we're talking about this. And then Joe Graggiola Jr., we meet at another time with him, and all this stuff is moving forward, right? So we have some spring training games set. It gets shut down by the Players Association. So we're one signature away, but we're still working on that. So that was a disappointment. I'm like strike one, right?
Yeah.
And so then and then we get into a situation where we're trying to get an A-ball team from California here, Visalia, the Rawhide, right? So we got the owners here. It's a done deal. We've met. They've come. We worked at the county. This is it. It's happening. That gets shut down by Major League Baseball because they were leaving Visalia, the Rawhide, because they need to do like $7 million of renovation because they need these minor league stadiums now have to be built to spec, right? Okay. But we've got one here that's already built to spec, right? So they were going to come over, we're going to transition. All this was happening. That got shut down by Major League Baseball because, you're going to break up that California league, the travel, all this and that, even though we had a lot of that already figured out. Mm-hmm. But we're still working on that. So now strike 2. So I'm just like, oh man, this World Baseball Classic comes about, but it's a long shot because we're competing against 4 other cities, right? We're against Colombia, the country, a city in Florida, a city in California. And so we're just battling, trying to get this. I said, man, I can't, we've got to make this one work, right? So took a lot longer than expected, but finally November we find out we get the bid, which is huge for us because we're going to have Major League Baseball players here.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. I was reading about that. We're going to have some big stars coming here.
Colombia has like 6 major leaguers. I know Germany has a couple major leaguers. China doesn't have any. But what's really cool with China is we're trying to set up they need to play some games. So I'm out trying to put a team together of some really good players so they could get some games to get China ready. And then so Brazil, I think Brazil has some, I don't know if they have big leaguers, but I know they definitely have some guys that are professional in the organization, sure. So all that's happening and we need to hit this one out the park, Frank, because if we show a good showing here, the WBC, the World Baseball Classic, is under Major League Baseball. And if we can show that we can do this on a grand level, it's a lot better shot of us getting, some spring training games here and maybe an A-ball affiliated to A-ball, AA, AAA team here in the future. So
that is incredible.
Yeah, so that's a lot. But
it is a lot. But thank you for all that hard work. Mm-hmm. And everyone can hear how it does work. It's networking. Mm-hmm. You got to sometimes just meet the right person.
Yeah.
And then that right person, let's have a compromise. Because just even with that person, I don't really agree with that because of Huckleberry. What a thing to say. It sounds very Tucson, right? Mm-hmm. But then isn't that such a great lesson of what this world is actually supposed to be?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter that you're a Republican or you're a Democrat. You're not supposed to actually talk about that sort of thing. Religion and politics and how much we make used to be the 3 things we don't talk about because we're supposed to be hanging out talking about baseball.
Yeah.
That's kind of the point. Those things can be the most divisive things for a human to deal with, and yet we should really talk about what we have in common. like America's pastime. So you being able to build those bridges by being, I'll just say this, a hardworking and someone who's just tenacious and won't give up on a dream. I'm just listening to you just fulfilled, I'm going to make these dreams come true. Dreams for yourself, but dreams for these players and dreams for the city of Tucson, for all of us to get to experience all of this. That said, when's this happening?
March 2nd through the 6th of the games. I think on the 5th there's a day off, or whatever that Wednesday is in between is a day off. But we need to fill the stadium, and we're working with everybody to get the word out. You can buy tickets online right now. I'll send you the link so you can share. We need to really do a good job with this. Oh, and I wanted to add, Matthew Earl Jones was the brother of James Earl Jones. The famous actor who just passed away recently. And, he's done so many cool baseball movies, Field of Dreams and even Sandlot. Remember that one?
Yes, one of the best things ever.
Yeah, so it's just cool how all this stuff came together. But there is so much more on the horizon. Like right now with the Mosaic Quarters happening, with the hockey team, the Roadrunners, all these things are falling into place. And what I've noticed in Tucson, and I don't know, you've probably been witness to some of this, a lot of times the county, the city, the authority, they're all pulling in different directions. What I think our authority and Blake Eager has been able to do is bring everybody together, city, county, and all point in the same direction. He's been a master at this. We had a meeting the other day, just kind of all hands on deck, kind of getting things, and we had people there from the city, the county, and it was great just to see everybody kind of working together, because we've gotten competitive with each other, like the city, the county, all this stuff, but we all want the same thing, right? Yeah. We want cool events, we want good memories, we want all these experiences, and that's where Blake has been a master at this, is getting all this together. And it's been a lot of hard work, and you get the door slammed on you. You get up here sometimes, and then you think you're going to get this, and all of a sudden, boom, something happens or somebody makes a decision. So it was nice that this actually came to fruition, but there's a lot more on the horizon that I'm really excited about from film, from more games and events. I mean, we want to make this like every 3 years. This is the qualifier. The top 2 teams, Germany, Brazil, Colombia, and China, the top 2 teams out of this one are going to the World Baseball Class 2026. Like, this is a big deal for them. Yeah. And we're going to make this event fun, because they one of the things about international play, I don't know if you've ever been to any of the Fiestas de Baseball games out at the Kino, but it's a party, right? You have cheerleaders. You never see cheerleaders in the United States, right, in baseball games, but they have bands. So we're going to make it a fun festival, culture event. I mean, I'm sure we have a Colombian community, a Brazil community, Chinese community, community German. We want to get everybody out there. We want to, not just in Tucson. So Tucson, I love that. Yeah. But we were also thinking, what we're trying to get others see is that, hey, what's good for Pima County is good for Pinal County, good for Santa Cruz, good for Cochise. Because when we can bring all our resources together, I think we have opportunities to really showcase all that's great about Southern Arizona, from our majestic Sonoran Desert to the mountains to, I was over at Arivaca, and we have these wetlands there and these cool places to fish that I've never even really had seen before. There's a lot of things here, but what happens is Maricopa and Phoenix, they get a lot of the money from Arizona Office of Tourism. And
yes, they do.
A lot of that, even though we pay our taxes just like them, we need to have more of these events in Southern Arizona.
I believe it. And so I help out a lot with the Southern Arizona Arts and Cultural Alliance. So SACA does a lot of great stuff. And even they've tried to expand more and not just focus. Like, let's talk about all of Southern Arizona. Yeah. And now even they are doing, like, let's even start moving a little north and make this organization bigger and start to make it a bigger community of people, because we do have the same goal. New public libraries, new murals. And I've watched, it's like, it's they're catching up to some of what we've got going on here. And that's really important. And I do love hearing all about this, because it is fun. Let me even just talk about fun baseball. Have you heard about the Savannah Bananas?
That's another, that was a foul tip, because we actually had them on the schedule. Yeah. And we had some trouble because we were going to have them in February, but with all the WBC, and we were going to play at the University of Arizona at High Corbett, but they're coming. We're getting them here. Right. Have you been to any of their?
I watched it. I applied to be their director of fun, because I know that I could crush it.
Oh, yes, you
and
would.
Started making friends with some of the people in the organization.
That guy coached at South Mountain Community College. Yeah. Like he has like roots here. So my head coach at Pima, Ken Hockamy, who was one of my last hire, who, by the way, Pima Community College athletics is doing great right now. Men and women's basketball is just killing it. our track team, our soccer teams went to nationals, both of them.
Wow.
And our men's baseball team and softball team are just doing great. But Ken Hockamy is good friends with the main guy. And so, so we're going to get him here. We're going to get him here.
That's incredible. I was going to tell you what, even after this is all said and done with all the success you're going to bring to Tucson, you know what I'm going to make sure? Because I'm a designer of I'm going to make you a new baseball card. That's what I'm going to do for you.
Let's do it.
All right, because you deserve it. All right, you're
I'll
practically the head coach of this whole state with what you're doing for everything down here and for everything with baseball in the community. That really makes my whole day to hear about this and to not have to talk as much on this episode.
Yeah,
because I get accused of that from time to time.
I get excited about it. I can talk. So as some people tell me, hey, just give me this. One time I was speaking at an event at my old elementary school. I started talking. And when your mom's in the background saying, stop, I'm like, I probably need to not talk so much. But
no, that's the real excitement, and I can feel it. And meeting you has been really, really just a blessing, just for everything you're doing with not just the baseball, but also film. And just hearing you talk about all these people that are making things move, because sometimes, a lot of people just like to complain, and they don't know that there are people like you working behind the scenes so hard, and that's why a World Baseball Classic shows up. It takes a lot of work and effort and phone calls and emails and a bunch of that to get a dream to happen. It even takes legislature.
Oh, yeah.
That's important.
Everybody, I tell you, I was talking to people, at the gym. That's never going to happen. That bill's not going to pass. That, there was so much negativity where they don't even want to try. I said, you know what, maybe it won't pass. But, what I've always tried to teach my kids when I coach my players, it's about the effort. Give your best, and let's see what happens. Maybe it won't work out. I don't know, but I know it's not going to work out if I don't try.
Right.
So I mean, the whole saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So you've got to really just, hey, sometimes you're going to have to eat it, and just things aren't going to always. But if you can stay persistent, in my experience, something's gonna happen eventually.
That's what's good about sports, and that's what's good about sports for youth, is because sometimes you got to eat it. And I see the kids because again, I teach a lot of kids, and the kids that are not, and I'm an art kid, but I'm average enough at all sports. Like that's important, because you know why? You got to learn how to lose. Kids need to not win the trophy, because that's what life is.
Yeah.
For every world championship game, there is someone that comes in second, which, by the way, I'm wearing that Yankee hat. They didn't win the World Series this year, but we're going to look at the silver medal of the Olympics as a loss. We're going to look at the American World Championships as a loss. Yeah. No. Like, that's the thing, is that you do have to look at what you've done. And then there is always just that phrase of, when it's all said and done, I tried my best. If you tried your best, you're guilt-free. Just go out, try your best. It means you practiced, you put in the effort, you put in the time, the concentration, the sacrifice. A lot of people don't talk about all those things you got to put in. It means you're sacrificing other things. And if you do all that, you can strike out and still be like, well, that's all right. Because that's the thing about baseball, right? To be successful, you got to be successful. Was it one third of the time? Is that the analogy?
Well, it's 3 out of 10 times. If you're successful 3 out of 10 times, you're batting 300, right?
Yep. Yeah. And that's always what it is. And I've always known, like, you got to bat that 300. That's kind of the goal. You can't bat 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Every once in a while when you start a thing, you can say, I'm batting 1,000, but it only takes a week before it's like, whoops.
Yeah. No, I got to honor you, Frank Powers here, because you're doing some cool stuff, man. This is really just a neat show, and you highlighting all that's best here in Tucson and Southern Arizona. I mean, it's so important to get the word out.
Well, it is.
And, you talk to people all the time, and you do your best to get the word out. Oh, we don't communicate. We don't. But what I've realized, everybody wants their communication differently. Some on the radio, some on a phone call, some on a text, some on an email. So you got to hit every place to try to get the word out. And it's just, what I've noticed here in Tucson, the things that work best are word of mouth.
Yes.
And that seems to, like, we can get that word of mouth going and getting people to get online, purchase some tickets, even if it's 1 or 2, or if you're like an organization and 20 or more people, we can do some group rates, where there's things that we can do to make sure that people have a good experience out there. So,
yeah.
And I've got to pick your brain, because now that with all the arts things you're doing and the shows, I was a middle school teacher for 6 years. I taught middle school social studies and PE and health. And one of the things that you've got to be almost an entertainer out there with middle schoolers, because they've got like that attention span. So if I would have known you when I was a middle school teacher, I would have scooped you up and you would have been one of my guest speakers every week. There's so many things or pathways to success or to explore, right? And I think the arts is something that, we need to invest in.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that we have places where people can be expressive, where these opportunities, whether it's improv, whether it's theater, whether it's painting, digital art, there's a lot of that going on also, that we have pathways for that also, because that's where I feel like almost like young people today, I mean, they're really excited about film and digital arts, but we got to continue to have those things. And we do have them at Pima and U of A, I know that.
Yeah. And those programs because I went to Pima a little bit while I was here just for fun, because I was like, pick up a class, do a course. It's really good to
what
get
did you
back.
take?
It was digital design, and then I ended up kind of teaching some of the course a
Did
little
you?
bit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I made a children's book during the course, and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And it was diligent. It's got 150 characters in it. It's an ABC book for kids, all about foods. And I needed just, again, a little structure and just a little bit. And that was before I went back. I went back eventually, got a master's degree from somewhere. But before I did that, it was just go to Pima a little bit, because you want to be around creative people. When you get out of school, all of a sudden it's like, wow, I was used to be surrounded by artists. And now I work at the bar. I'm surrounded by barflies. What are they talking about? Nothing good, And that's the thing, is I started hanging out again with people that are like, hey, have you heard of this app? Have you gone to this website? Have you tried this tool? Seen this program? You're not going to get that if you're just not surrounded by some of the people that are going to, influence you, and people that you want to pick their brain.
You just kind of just put the nail on the head, because one of the things I tell you, hit the nail on the head, is like, I tell people about their environment, right? And one of the things, so at Pima College, I feel like Pima Community College has leverage more than any other institution, because we meet people where they're at. We don't have assessment exams or whatever like U of A, or if you want to be vocational, you want to just take a digital arts class, you can do that. But the one thing I've noticed is I was at West Campus for a long time. Now I'm on the South Side at Desert Vista Campus, and we've got a lot of talent out there. And the one difference I see between people that are finding success and not finding success is access or proximity. Like, I feel like in order to change an individual, you got to have, proximity to information, an event, or people. And so we have like these grants where we bring them on campus, we give them access to how to navigate college, or we give them proximity to people that have had a lot of success. And that's why I think your environment is so important. Like, you got to go to places where there's people there that are doing what you want to do, or you want to. And here's the other thing, Frank, is that you got to put yourself in some weird, awkward situations, right?
Yeah.
I used to tell my kids, hey, today in school, I want you to go talk to somebody different. Like, and my older son's kind of shy, so he wouldn't really do it. But my younger son, hey, Dad, I went and spoke to this girl today, and nobody really talks to her, but she's really cool. She has these hearing aids, but I tried them on, and I brought it to our lunch table, and now she's like part of the group. Like,
wow.
Like, you just like people, like, you got to go talk to that person who might be different. Like, there's so much to learn out there. People are fascinating. That's why I love movies and film, because, it exposes you to different things or different cultures. And so I love that you mentioned, having that environment and putting yourself around people.
Well, funny enough, when we were talking off air and I told you that I went down to that studio to go volunteer, that to me is the key to making friends as an adult. Go volunteer. And the reason I say that is because you almost stole a catchphrase that I say. Don't make your friends do the things that you want to do. Make friends with people doing the things you want to do.
Yeah, I love
I'm not going to get my roommate to do a podcast with me. Everyone gives up after episode 3. For anything you're trying to think of, let's start of this, let's start of that. Yeah, after 3 weeks, it becomes work. Yeah. That's why you go down to the TV studio, and those people want to make TV shows. You're not convincing them, right? It doesn't sound like, honestly, for as hard as you work, it's not a lot of mental weight on you, because you love what you're doing.
I love what I feel like. I've never gone to work a day in my life. Like when I was a coach, or when I was I still teach classes. Like, even though I don't have to because I'm an administrator, I still teach a college readiness class just because I love staying connected with the students. But I honestly love what I do, and so I feel fortunate. Knock on wood. We're very grateful for what I get to do.
Yeah, and what you get to do. That's the point. And that's another thing. I'll tell you another thing. It's a weird thing. That's a perspective I thought about. It hit me a few months ago, because this job is not a job. I forget. Sometimes people say, like, they'll ask me what my job is, and I forget. I'm like, oh, wait, that's right. I'm the director of public affairs. That's a title. Because to me, getting to talk to you, getting to meet people in Tucson, getting to meet all the figureheads in the community, getting to see how things work after 100 and something episodes and meet all these people, I notice the patterns. I'm starting to see how the city actually operates. and learn all of that. And I had a thought one morning, I have to go down to the radio station. I'm like, no, you don't. You get to go down to the radio station.
For
I
sure.
said that. I'm like, I get to do this. I get to do that. I get to do my other business. The next day, The Rock makes a 15-minute post about this thought that he had and was all about that mentality. I get to do this. And I'm like, what?
I thought you were going to say you had The Rock on the show.
No,
or he
not
commented
yet.
on your
Not yet.
on
Not
something.
Yet.
Yeah.
All right, Dwayne Johnson one day, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure of it. But that's the trick, is that there's some things in the air sometimes. And the fact that I plucked something out of the air, this thought, this belief of like all my kind of perspectives and the way my life is, it kind of got me to that same mentality that you have right there, that also The Rock has. So if we're feeling as good as Dwayne Johnson, that's a pretty good life that we're living no matter what we're doing,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So I'll tell you, just thanks for hanging out.
No,
like,
my
this was
pleasure.
a great time.
This is fun. Yeah. No, I enjoy this, and we'll keep promoting it. We'll get you to some games, and
I'm down, and I'm definitely going to be there. Remind people when it is, and also if people are if you're looking for sponsorship opportunities, still I think they're still available. I got a PDF sent to me, so that's available. Where can people contact you if they want to learn about sponsorships?
Yeah, so what you would go to our website. It's a Southern Arizona Sports Tourism Film Authority. That's a mouthful, so it's SASTFA. So SASTFA.com. That's our website, and you'll see Blake Eager, our executive director, and then that's where you can go buy tickets for the event. So, but it's going to be a cool event. I mean, Brazil, China, Colombia, Germany, they're all staying at our hotels, eating at our restaurants. So Tucson's going to be busy.
It's going to be fun. Let me ask you this, because there are going to be some other players. I'm just thinking of this, and I mean, let me not rush out of here. We're having a great conversation, and if. Are you going to have some like fun meet and greets or anything where people get to meet the players and take photos and do all that stuff too, obviously, as well, like fan access? Yeah,
that'll all be on the website. We don't have the exact dates and times because we've got to match up with the team, with the teams and making sure they got it. But no, that's the plan. We want to have meet and greets. We're going to need translators. We're going to need people to help kind of we want to make these teams feel as comfortable as possible and enjoy Tucson and Southern Arizona. So we're definitely going to have some things set up so they can see all the best of Southern Arizona.
It's going to be a good time. And today was a really good time. So thanks again, because today we made friends with Edgar Soto, chairman of the board of the Southern Arizona Film and Tourism Authority, whose goal is to unite Southern Arizona communities to strengthen prosperity through sports, tourism, film, and workforce development. My other favorite two words.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining me today, Edgar.
My pleasure. Thank you.
This was Lifestyle Tucson. Bing bong bing, time for a recap. Was this a new contender for best episode of Lifestyle Tucson? Maybe perhaps new contender for best friend in Tucson, because Edgar Soto, he's working really hard for everybody here in town. I really learned a lot, about the city, some of our history with sports, and just about how great Pima community is, because you got guys like this who have so much heart working behind the scenes and in front of the action for everybody here when it comes to legislature and all the networking that it takes to get things done here in Tucson. What a great time. So let's make sure that I just recap the actual World Baseball Classic, because we talked a lot about everything, but we didn't, nail those dates down over and over and over and over again. So make sure that you know that the World Baseball Classic is going to be at the Kino Veterans Memorial Stadium March 2nd through the 6th, as teams from Brazil, China, Colombia, and Germany make their way to the old pueblo to play America's favorite pastime, and possibly soon the world's favorite pastime. So this was really exciting. I really did have a good time. If you want to get involved, make sure you get all the details over at SASTFA, right? That's SASTFA.com. I'm going to type it real quick and make sure I'm correct. Yes, indeed, it is correct. It's the Southern Arizona Sports Tourism and Film Authority. Their website looks great. Lots of HD video there about everything coming to Tucson, so go get involved. Go get all the information, as well as tickets, and really just get involved with everything happening when it comes to Edgar Soto, because it seems like he's a guy you want to be friends with here in Tucson. So I want to thank our new friends at the World Baseball Classic and the Southern Arizona Sports Tourism and Film Authority for joining me today. You've been listening to Lifestyle Tucson. If you're a nonprofit that would like to be on the show, email lifestyletucson@gmail.com. For more information about this program or to listen to something you may have missed, go to the Sunday Mornings page on klpx.com, kfma.com, mixfm.com, or espntucson.com. You can also subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, and Audible, or wherever fine podcasts are knocking it out of the park. Follow on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram at Lifestyle Tucson, because I'm your BFF, your best Frank forever, Frank Powers. Toot toot Tucson. I love you the most. Play ball.